Welcome to Behind the Muscle podcast. Today's guest is an NPC bodybuilder. Today's guest is Scott Bernal. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome, man. So, Scott, the first question I'd like to ask you is, who are a few of your favorite bodybuilders of all time?
I would have to say, being from Texas, probably Branch Warren and Ronnie Coleman. Just Branch Warren's work ethic. I mean, he's just a madman in the gym. Overcame his injuries and kind of, just said, screw the naysayers and did what he wanted to do. Ronnie Coleman, I mean, guy's just a freak of nature. I mean, I just remember just watching his videos in the gym, trying to get amped up. Just, I'm sure like a lot of people do, that, 800-pound squat, that pre-workout ritual. But then I guess recent times, kind of like reading the magazines and stuff, Antoine Vaillant, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, just overcame all these adversities of drug addiction, injuries as well. And just, I believe he won his pro show, went to Olympia. So that kind of resonated with me as a bodybuilder. So I necessarily didn't have an addiction, but I've had, issues in the past that I had to overcome to get to where I'm at now. So those kind of the bodybuilders I'd say.
Love that, man. Antoine is definitely he's actually been on the podcast. Super cool guy, and you're right. His story is incredible, and he's just I like to say he's a breath of fresh air within the bodybuilding world because he's kind of a goofy, funny guy. He doesn't take life or himself or anybody or anything too serious. So I love that you brought Antoine up. Now, I don't want you to necessarily talk about when you got into bodybuilding because we're gonna get into that with this next question. I just kind of want to know at what age did you start lifting weights, and then why did you start lifting weights at that age, Scott?
So I believe I started lifting weights back in middle school. It was primarily for football, and was just training to be a better athlete for football, and then kind of went into trying to get all around just a better football player. So I'd say like around like 14, 15, I'd say, and then I just kind of progressed up until high school, and then after high school kind of just stuck with it here and there.
Okay, excellent. Okay, now I want to kind of get into your childhood a little bit here before we progress into the bodybuilding talk. So talk about it sounds like you're originally from Texas, is that correct?
Correct. So yeah, I've was raised here, military brat, lived in Virginia as a kid, in Florida. I can't remember too much there, but was born in actually Jacksonville, North Carolina. And I just came back, living in Virginia for a couple of years, came back over here. So yeah, I'm no place like home.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you grew up in Texas. Now, was your mom, your dad, or both of them in the military? And what branch did what was the service in?
So my father was in the Navy. So he was deployed a lot. So it was usually just me and my mom. And so whenever he was with us and stuff, he was big part of my life, just especially in sports, just pushed me to get better and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I was definitely, as a kid, I was kind of moving around, and I kind of was excited to actually like stay in one place. I mean, if you're a military brat, the whole picking up and moving, you meet your friends and then you got to move, and it's just a little bit frustrating, but just kept in the gym, and that was like the most consistent thing that I had at the time, just trying to be a better athlete. So helped me out a lot, through the whole moving experience and stuff.
Cool. Okay, now it sounds like sports was kind of a big part of your upbringing. So you mentioned you played football. What are some of the other sports that let's just talk about once you got into high school? Did you just play football? What high school sports did you end up playing?
So I played football, basketball, track, cross country. I didn't play baseball, but I was kind of forced into cross country to play basketball. So that was kind of horrible. But I played a little bit of football. I didn't play too much in high school. I kind of, transitioned into the whole social partying scene. So in middle school, even as a kid growing up, I was always, my parents put me in like football camps, basketball camps, weightlifting camps. So just all around, just trying to hone into becoming a better athlete. But I didn't really take it to my full potential in sports. So that kind of sucks. But you know, the gym was kind of like my next best thing for me. And so that's usually how I kind of, I had to take that competitive somewhere else. So that's how I ended up in kind of bodybuilding.
Okay. Now, you mentioned earlier when you brought up Antoine that, like all of us, you had some issues at some point. Now, did you really dive deep into the party scene? And is that something that carried over past high school? Talk about that for a minute.
Yeah. So in high school, I was into partying, drinking, smoking, all that, the whole nine. And then whenever I transitioned into college, kind of went on a further scale in the whole little fraternity scene, still partying, drinking, and really, I mean, I didn't really like it. Just took over my life, really. School wasn't the biggest priority for me. I mean, it was just always, hey, what are we going to do tonight, that type of thing. So that kind of like was like a Thursday through Sunday type of thing. And then Monday, Tuesday, I was usually in class, probably still hungover, and then probably chasing girls. That's that sort of thing. So I would usually just probably go to the gym just to, do some biceps just to go look good for the night, and that was about it, man. So, but yeah, it was really, I can like look back at it and be like, yeah, I did wasted so much time doing that. And it kind of, yeah, like I said, it's one of those regrets that I have, because I could have, done this or that. But yeah, that was, partying. But yeah, that was a lot of my past right there, just partying.
Okay.
So
Now,
I'm kind of how I am now. I'm the complete opposite. So I don't really do too much of anything really nowadays. So I'm a hermit.
yeah, yeah. Now, what did obviously, I'm sure your parents at some point knew that you partied and things like that. Kind of the last question in this regard, and then we'll transition. But did your parents ever sit you down and try to have a talk with you, or were you just kind of, middle finger to
Yeah.
everybody and everything, and just didn't really pay
And,
attention to what
and
they said?
yeah, and that's kind of how it was. I kind of got in trouble with the law, got arrested a couple of times, just drinking, public intoxication, these like little misdemeanors that, I mean, I still didn't wake up and smell the coffee. And it wasn't until I got out of that environment that I was able to actually progress on with my life. And that's kind of how I am like nowadays, is just if it's not going to be conducive to what I'm doing, I just kind of cut it completely out, and just kind of really just focus on how am I going to get better as a person, and how am I going to get better, towards my goals. So it was a long learning experience that I really didn't learn. I had people trying to help me and, you know, talk me, out of it. Like, you're better than this, you can do that. But it wasn't until like I looked myself in the mirror and just kind of faced up to my own, you know, me, and like told myself, dude, you're not doing anything right now. Like, you got to wake up. And that's kind of what I did. But it was a long time. It just didn't happen overnight. Like I still went through ups, downs, and then yeah, it was a long time.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about college outside of the education and partying that you got, which a lot of us
Yeah.
did. What did you actually study? Did you graduate? And then once you were done with college, what did you do to pay the bills, or what did life look like outside of the party scene?
So I changed my major so many damn times. I couldn't even tell you what I think the last bit of it was chemistry, engineer at one point. Like, I just really didn't even know what I wanted to do. But yeah, I didn't end up graduating. I think missing an internship. That's all that I'm missing. So I'm like right there. But I had no. I was mainly doing it for mom. I never cared about academics at all. But yeah, like you said, I needed to get a job, and I ended up getting a job at GNC. I would think I was like 17 at the time. And that's kind of how I kind of like I saw a little bit of bodybuilding. Jay Cutler was still on the scene, and I was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I mean, I really didn't dive into it too much, but I mean, that's so I started in the supplement, industry, and then I kind of translated into personal training, which I do now.
Okay, cool. Okay, excellent, man. So, do you remember the first bodybuilder that you actually saw, whether that was a magazine or a DVD? If so, who was it? And what were some of those initial thoughts when you were exposed to like real, actual bodybuilding?
So I remember, and I had this conversation last week with my roommate at the time. I was at the grocery store. Magazines were real big. Branch Warren was on the cover, had a black beanie on, veins all over his chest, looking crazy. I picked up the magazine. I was skimming through it, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna look like that one of these days." And we're just both laughing, drinking a beer, and just went about that. But fast forward, I believe I think that was 4 years later. I was living in Japan, and I ran across Hidetada Yamagishi. I met him, and I had posted a picture a while back, and I'm just shaking his hand. He was doing like a meet and greet, signing magazines and stuff, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I another pro at that time because that was my first local show that I went to was in Japan, and I saw Freddie. I think Freddie Smalls. That dude was like ginormous. I mean, when I saw him, I didn't even know what to say to him. I was like, dude, your arm is huge. Like it was just yeah, I didn't even have words to say. I was like, hey, how you doing? But I was just like, dude, your arm is huge, and he just started chuckling. But those are the first bodybuilders that I had saw, whereas in Japan. Yeah.
Now was that something kind of like right away when you first saw those pros and you were exposed to bodybuilding? I mean, is it something that you were attracted to, or was it something that you were just like, that's not really for me, or what were your thoughts initially?
I thought it was really cool because it was at that point it was starting to be on the rise, but it was like a little cult. There was not a lot of people doing it, and I just wanted to be different. And I like the competitiveness, and I like you're running your own race, and there's you're everything that you're doing daily. It's all on you. I mean, you can't really someone is going to do it for you. You got to cook your own meals. You still got to train, sleep, and then repeat. It's like Groundhog Day. So I like that aspect of it that not everybody was doing it. But yeah, it was. I just enjoyed it, and I just looked at those guys. I was like, man, they're freaks of nature. I want to be a freak, and that's how that started.
Now, how did you, or what was the reasoning for you to end up over in Japan?
So my dad was stationed over there, and he thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to see a different culture, where I was at the time, just to kind of get away from the whole partying scene and stuff, just a fresh breath air, fresh breath air, fresher breath of air. Like I'm stumbling my words here. But it was just a new start, really. Get to experience a new culture, country, and yeah, it was a good time over there. Japanese people, very very friendly, and I actually ran across some of my friends to this day. They were just local bodybuilders, and we've kept in touch and stuff. And they've kind of guided me and mentored me on a couple of things too. So it was a great. That was my first like kind of foot into bodybuilding over there, and yeah, that was the start of where I am at now. So
Okay. What's the bodybuilding scene like over there, and what were the gyms like when you were over there? Do they have some bodybuilding friendly gyms or not?
yeah, so they had one on an Air Force base. It was a really big gym, a lot of big freaky like military guys that I mean they're shoot if they would compete they would crush it. But there was another one who I believe was called Tory Gym. It was operated or managed by an actual IFBB pro. I believe her name is Zoa Lindsay. I think she competed in bodybuilding. I think in the women's bodybuilding division. And yeah, it was just a grungy type of like atmosphere. It was really cool. I didn't train there too much, but I just trained whatever was close by, and those gyms were 24/7. So I kind of went at 11 o'clock at night, just random times, just to whenever I could train. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool there. I mean, bodybuilding was going on. They had the little shows over there and stuff. So, yeah.
Now, you mentioned kind of like getting out of the environment and kind of getting away from certain people. That's when you kind of really started to make a change in your life. Now, when you went over to Japan, was that what you were referring to kind of get out of the party environment? And was that the change, or did that not happen
Yeah,
until later on?
yeah. So that was the biggest change, was going over there, and just getting away from all that. I was so consumed by it, and I just needed to get away. I didn't know what else to do. For me, I mean, my parents, I thank them every day, trying to, pull me out of that situation, because I mean, who really knows where I would have ended up. But yeah, it was this start of getting away from all that and just trying to rebuild myself as a person, just more than anything. And just pretty much, one step, I just trying to achieve what I wanted to achieve. I mean, I couldn't do it when I was being drunk all the time. So, but yeah, it was a fresh start.
Okay. So what did you because this is like when we kind of get into your guys' stories, right? We get beyond the bodybuilding talk. This is really what resonates with people, along obviously with the bodybuilding talk. But what was it when you were kind of in that limbo, right? Of like kind of like getting out of the party scene, you're over in Japan, you're working in the supplement industry and personal training, and you have this interest in bodybuilding. At that time, Scott, like what were you thinking about? Like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like what goals were you kind of thinking about? What were you scratching the surface on in regards to your future life?
You see, I didn't really plan on doing any. I really didn't have any goals. Like, it wasn't until three, 3 or maybe 4 years ago, where I started to be like, look, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to be doing. How am I going to get there? But like at that point, I didn't know. I was just kind of like just going with the flow, working, getting the paycheck, and just going to the gym and just hanging out, really. And then it wasn't until like I actually met, when I was living in Virginia. I had it was a corporate personal training. It was a corporate gym over there. I was a personal trainer over there. And I met some bodybuilders over there, Karen and Kevin. They pretty much took me under their wing, and guided me into like how, this is how to bodybuild, and this is what you need to be doing, and just kind of showed me the ropes. From that point on, I was just kind of like just tunnel vision, and like, every day, this is what I want to do, and I want to bodybuild, and I want to make an income out of it. And best way to do it is just, be the best bodybuilder I can, help people, and, hopefully grow my business, really. And that's where it started in Virginia. I always thank them. I still talk to them here and there. But yeah, they showed me the ropes, and that's kind of where I got bit by the bug there. Hadn't competed yet, but I just knew I wanted to compete.
Yeah, awesome, man. Okay, so why don't you walk us through your first competition? Did you prep yourself, or did that couple, maybe it sounds like, prepped you, but how did that first competition go? Just touch on that, please, Scott.
So my first competition was Battle of Texas. That was in 2020. I believe in 2016, I was in the middle of a prep, and I didn't end up following through. And then it's actually like I've been through kind of like numerous preps where it was just something was going on in my life, whether it be relationships or some life obstacle, and I never followed through. And yeah, it just kind of it sucked, really, because I mean, you put in all this hard work and then you're just not going to show up. But a lot of it too and I had to break away this cycle mentally. But I kept on telling myself, I was like, I'm not good enough. And it was a thing that always stuck with me. I mean, people would tell me, "Hey, do you look good?" or whatever. The pictures look good, but I wasn't able to see myself. And that's probably important to have a coach that, hey, you're doing the right thing and not doing the right thing because I get in my head too much. And but I know, like, for instance, this year, my belief, I was like, I know I'm good enough. But back to the first show, the Battle of Texas, yeah, I got coached by Phil Viz. Great guy. He's very knowledgeable, kind of out there, but yeah, he's a good guy. We don't talk too much, but yeah, he's, I can whistle him up or whatever, and he'll still kind of help me out here and there. But yeah, he got me dialed in, won the overall there. And then, like, fast forward do you want to fast forward to another show, or?
Before we do that, let's touch on the first competition in 2020. So you kind of
okay.
break through the mental barrier of being good enough and all of that. We all have kind of, especially within bodybuilding, we have our own, I think, image issues, right?
Right. Yeah.
Especially when we're
Big
paying attention to all these IFBB pros, is like, come on, man, like, you got to be realistic. But
yeah.
we definitely get that. So you had to break through that. You step on stage, you win an overall. That, on some level is legit, right? Your first competition, you walk away with an overall. So talk about, I mean, how did that make you feel? I mean, walking away with an overall, you obviously are going to qualify for a national competition. So walk us through your mindset. Did that really kind of give you some direction and purpose in regards to your bodybuilding goals?
It didn't. That prep was, I call it a shotgun prep. I've done this numerous times where I'm dieting and I fall off the wagon for like 3 or 4 months, and I don't go to the gym, I don't train, or just eat. I'm just off track. But prior to that, I'm like, okay, I got 12 weeks to do this show, and I came in pretty good shape. But even though I won, I still wasn't a victory in my head. I was just kind of like, how can I get better? And that kind of stuck with me even growing up as a kid. When I was playing sports, my dad, even though let's say I want to race in track or anything, he's like, that's good, but you need to be better. And it's a double-edged sword because it kind of overwhelms you. You can't really enjoy the moment, so to speak. So my thing is like, and then I'm always playing with myself. I'm like, man, I'm not good, and I need to get better. And maybe this isn't the best time to compete. Waste my money and just get manhandled on the stage. So, but that belief was, it was like literally engraved in my head. Like, you're not good enough to win. Even though I won, it was still playing with me. So, yeah, that's yeah, I didn't get to enjoy it too much. I was happy though that I actually followed through with it. That was a victory in my head, but it was just more so, how can I get better?
So after that competition, did you fall off the wagon again, or did you stay on?
So, yeah, I got COVID a week and a half later, and yeah, I was in the gym for, I dare I say, like 12 weeks. That COVID hit me pretty hard though. I was probably out for a good 6-7 weeks. I'm getting to an age now where I used to be like, let me just sleep it off. Well, I never got better. And finally took some meds and, kind of, drink water, hydrated, and got moving around and stuff. But I was just kind of bedridden for a couple of weeks. And then I was like, dude, I'm not getting any better. And yeah, that was the worst feeling. I couldn't enjoy the sweet treats or whatever after the show. Didn't have my taste, can smell anything. And it was a bad time. But yeah, I fell off the wagon there too.
Yeah. Okay, so just walk us through then. You get back into the gym at some point, and let's start there, and then just walk us through where you're at this point.
So back in, I started. So fast forward from that show, once I got, past the COVID and all that, I kind of went back in the gym. I'm like, man, I'm getting fat. So started going back to the gym. Started dieting again, and then was thinking about a show, and then didn't end up doing anything. It wasn't until this past year in Austin where I did the Republic of Texas, and I was just shooting to see what I got, and see if I made any progress. And ended up winning the class. Didn't win the overall there. And it kind of scratched my head. I was like, maybe I can. But then I was looking at my condition. I was like nowhere near condition at all. It was just kind of shooting for this, just pretty much to see if I still had it. Shortly after that, I ended up getting COVID again. And so fast forward from, I think that was in July, didn't get back, in the gym till like late August. And then I just kind of had this like epiphany of, dude, what am I doing? Am I going to like actually bodybuild, or am I just going to be doing this yo-yo bodybuilding roller coaster? I'm like, you're either going to stick with it or you just stop completely. And from September to December, didn't train at all. And I had reached out to Chris Aceto, and I was kind of hesitant just because I would say it was probably the worst looking version of myself I've ever seen in my it was pretty bad. And I think he emailed me back. He's like, well, can't be worse than I think he said Kamal. He looked like a Shar. I didn't know what a Shar-Pei dog was. And he's like, can't be any worse than that. So I sent him pictures. I was like, you're fat, but we'll make something happen. And so I was like, all right, well, I just took it day by day. And I started training at a new gym. They have a bunch of good equipment there. A lot of like Arsenal style equipment there too. So I've been having fun with it. And I think I progressed so much in like 2 months. And he's like, well, what are we doing? And I was like, well, let's do USA's. I want to win it. And he's like, all right, well, full steam ahead. And that's where I'm at now.
Okay. All right. Now, for your second competition, did you work with Phil or did you work with somebody else?
I kind of picked Phil's brain here and there, but I kind of did the whole prep by myself. And it was just probably why I look the way I look. But I just hate going on stage looking, and I've never been at my best, so to speak. So I don't know what that is. So it's just kind of, you go on stage and then you're just like, I'm not satisfied with what I brought. So I really believe this time around, I'll bring something really, really good. And I truly believe I can win. So that's every day I'm thinking that.
Cool. Okay, so Chris Aceto, obviously, anybody that knows anything about bodybuilding, we know his resume. But out of all the coaches that are out there, why did you really want to reach out to him? And did you think that he would coach you? Like, talk about that, because he's obviously about as big of a name as it gets.
So I first heard of Chris back when I kind of got introduced to, I think it was RX Muscle. So I really used to listen like daily, Dave Palumbo and Chris Aceto. I think it's Heavy Muscle Radio right before I go to bed. So his name was always kind of like going through my head. And I just took a chance, and I was like, hey, can you think you can help me out? And this is how I'm looking. And he was like, sure, send me pics and weight tomorrow. And I mean, it was just as easy as that. But I just, for him, he's just real simple. He gets to the point. I mean, that's all I really need. I just need a thumbs up or thumbs down. I don't need anything more than that. And he keeps it simple for me, as a meathead, just to, follow through. And it's been a great experience with them. But for amongst him and other coaches, I just, like I said, pretty much from the radio, the podcast. That's kind of, I didn't think he was gonna bother like responding to my DM. So I was very, very excited. I was kind of like starstruck. I was like, oh man, you replied. So I was very excited.
Yeah, for sure, man. That's really cool. Now, when did you actually start prep for USA's? How many weeks are you into it?
So I started training, and I guess I'd consider that a prep, December 1st. So we're like 20 weeks and some change away from USA. So it's I believe it's 16 weeks from that qualifier, whatever one I do. But 20 weeks from USA. So yeah, just back in December.
Okay. Now, walk us through a little bit of your like your training split and kind of like your training style, Scott. Like walk us through that for a minute.
So I don't really have a particular training style. I just like to train heavy and go to failure. Kind of like a push pull legs, maybe the arms and then rest. But I usually just go by feel. And I just keep on rotating that. But I use like drop sets and static holds and stuff like that. But I just make sure when I leave the gym I'm pretty much gassed. So I don't really, I just have fun with it and just lift as heavy as I can without getting hurt. So
Okay. Any body parts that you're really hyper focused on bringing up, or is it just kind of overall strength like most bodybuilders?
yeah, I'm just trying to get overall big everywhere. So yeah, it's there's not really I don't really see maybe my quads are probably my most dominant body part, but definitely my thickness is my back, my chest, my shoulders. Yeah, pretty much every body part really.
Okay, cool, man. And then are you going to be in the super heavyweight, heavyweight? What weight class are you going to be in?
I'm not too sure. Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I'm at low 250s right now. So I yeah, I wouldn't. I'm the wrong person to ask there. Because I had that same question. I've had that same question rolling through my head. I'm like, am I going to be a super or like the bottom of the super heavyweight class or heavyweight? But in all a nutshell, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I just want to be at my best, and I know that that'll be good. So,
okay. What's your ultimate? Obviously, you want to get your pro card. How far do you want to take this competitive bodybuilding thing before you're done competing?
I want to take it as far as wherever the rabbit hole goes, man. I just want to see where it goes. I mean, I'm not going to put a limit on myself to see, oh, I just want to get my pro card and be done with it. If I could go to Olympia, win a pro show, shoot, I'd go for it, man. I mean, why not?
Cool. Yeah, for sure. What's your age? How old are you, Scott?
I'm 30.
Okay. Yeah, you're right in those prime years. They say 30s is kind of like the prime years for bodybuilding, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I see a lot of the young, but I mean, they're 24. They're getting younger every time. I'm like, man, they're huge. Crazy. I'm trying to remember some of the guys that I seen. I was like, man, they're just freaks of nature. But yeah, it's very very. I'm glad the bodybuilding scene is coming up again. Last year, the nationals and USA's, a lot of big boys, and I'm just glad to see. For a while, it was just kind of stagnant. And there's maybe like one, good person. I'm not to take anything away from anybody else, but there was just like one freak of nature. But now everybody's like, coming out of the woodwork right now. So it's really cool to see.
Absolutely, man. So, in terms of like, your career and doing like personal training, do you also do online training, or are you more like in-person personal training?
So I take a couple of people in person, but I've transitioned to just online training, and I help a couple of people with like shows, just amateurs, first time competitors, and but nothing too crazy. But I'm gonna start. I'm trying to expand, trying to post more. That's something I haven't been doing ever since I started bodybuilding. I just like to just show up. I mean, my thing. I was like the Dorian mentality of just showing up and just let the results speak. But we're in a day and age to where you have to post the updates. People want to see what you're eating and stuff like that. So I'm kind of breaking out of my shell this year. You're going to start seeing a lot more of me, and I'll keep everybody, tuned in on that. But yeah, I just want to expand my online training business and stuff.
Okay. Now, is your ultimate goal to kind of like be the full-time bodybuilder, full-time online coach? Is that kind of what you're pushing for?
Yeah. Anyway, if I could be in the bodybuilding realm, whether it be training, just being a competitive bodybuilder, or shoot, even help get a sponsor, right? Want any of those things. I mean, as long as I'm in the fitness industry, I'd be, I'm happy. I get to wake up every day, and I'm grateful for it to be able to do what exactly what I want to be doing. So it's yeah, I just love what I do.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts? Did you watch the Arnold Classic over the weekend? What are your thoughts on that?
Whew, yeah, it was that top three could have gone either way. Samson, he looked phenomenal. Nick came in crazy as, you know, the mutant, right? I yeah, it was. I'm glad the Arnold Classic. It was like a mini Olympia, and it was one of those things where I was like, man, I wish I was there. But yeah, it was an incredible shoot. The classic physique too. I stay tuned with that, so it was really cool to be able to watch the competitive, like the Arnold. You know, the Arnold's back, so it's happy to see those athletes, you know, grab that prize. I think that's what it was. It was the prize money everybody wanted to go get. I don't blame them. 300,000. I mean, shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, that it doesn't get much better than that. Now, I think it's kind of cool. I kind of see it. There's a contrast, right, between the Olympia and the Arnold. Obviously, Arnold, I think, is a little bit more focused on the aesthetic. So I wasn't surprised
Right.
that Samson won. We've seen that over the years with the Arnold compared to the Olympia, where it's a little bit more of the freak show, so to speak, like the Nick Walkers and
Right.
things like that. Is that something that you kind of recognize or notice too?
Yeah, everybody at the Olympia, they want to see the freaks. So they want to see something from outer space. At the Arnold, the Arnold, they want to see something like you mentioned, the aesthetics, the shape, the proportion, the symmetry, all kind of tied into what kind of Arnold represented. So but as much as I love that look and it's a good marketable look, I mean, I like seeing something from, like I said, outer space. I like seeing something like, how in the heck does it look like that? So I like seeing that grainy conditioning. You know, I wanted to go to this Olympia. I heard Hottie just looked insane in person. And yeah, I like freaks, but that's just me though.
Yeah, for sure. Do you watch any guys on YouTube? Do you have any YouTube channels that are your go-tos? If so, which one, Scott?
So I still to this day RX Muscle, and I think it's Get Big Bodybuilding, and then I, you know, follow your YouTube channel as well. I like to get to know some of these athletes and stuff. It's pretty cool what you're doing. Just, you know, get into in depth and how they are, how they got brought up and stuff. So that's really cool. You don't see much of that. It's a lot different from, like, yeah, everybody's eating chicken and rice and training, like, we get it, but yeah, it's pretty cool to get the inside look of the bodybuilder. Another podcast. I don't know. I just try to stay away from like all the little gossip YouTube.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. YouTube channels and stuff. They always got something to say, but I just like to pretty much RX Muscle and just a couple.
Cool.
I mean, nothing too crazy there.
Do you watch like, you know, Brett Wilkin or Nick Walker? Or do you guys watch any of those guys' channels in terms of their training, or is it more of the stuff?
Yeah, just the podcast stuff. I mean, I'm sure if I like stumbled across it, I'll probably watch it, but I usually have like my, you know, selected, you know, YouTube channels, and I just stick to those and just more educational,
Yeah, sure.
like things so I can, you know, learn and stuff. So
Okay. So outside of bodybuilding, what does Scott like to do for fun, or do you have any other hobbies or interests, you know, that you can share with us?
well, I got a new dog, so she keeps my hands tied right now. But watching movies, I do a lot of that. I mean, other than just, you know, being body, I mean, that's kind of all I do. I just kind of, you know, eat, train the clients, do emails and stuff, and I really don't like breaking out of my shell too much outside of that. I love my structure, I love my routine, and yeah, I'm a big homebody.
Yeah, well, that's how you become a better bodybuilder. What's your do you have an all-time favorite movie, or what's a movie that you could watch 10 times in a row and not get sick of it?
Probably Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. You know, I'm a big nerd. I used to play a bunch of video games, you know, growing up and stuff. So I play like World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, stuff like that. So I'm a big nerd. Yeah. But I don't do too much of that. It consumes too much of my time. So I just kind of, you know, went away with it. But I'll still play Call of Duty here and there. But my attention span's probably max like 10, 20 minutes, and I got to get off.
Okay, that's cool, man. Love that. Now, we've kind of got, you know, the picture of your younger years in terms of the partying and all that stuff. Now, obviously bodybuilding has given you some sort of purpose in life. It's given you a direction. Outside of kind of that, what else do you feel like you've really learned from bodybuilding, or what do you feel like bodybuilding has really given you, to kind of get you out of some of those ruts in your younger years, Scott?
So it's just given me the structure and the discipline and just pretty much self-improving yourself. Mentally, I mean, I said, my belief in myself wasn't there majority of the time. It took me a little while to realize like you're capable of more, and just pretty much taking the emotion out of it. Some days we're going to be, mad, depressed, sad even. But, as long as you're with bodybuilding, you follow the meals, the training, just kind of pull those emotions away. And I mean, it's something that I've been working on, and, it's kind of, paid off in a sense, because, it always pulls me out of whatever I'm going through in life, and just kind of gives me an outlet to, it's kind of like escape, but also just kind of pretty much take my mental state out of that bad rut. So, it's always been my to-go-to place. So whenever I go to the gym, I mean, I'm just, I'm having fun, so it's a great place to be. Like I said, improving your physique, but also like strengthening your mentality of becoming a better person.
Very cool, man. Somebody that's maybe a little bit younger out there that's watching or listening to this, that wants to compete for the first time, they kind of want to get into the bodybuilding scene. What are some pieces of advice or words of wisdom that you can share with those people?
Follow through. Don't quit. Quitting is not going to get you anywhere. I mean, just follow through. No matter what you might think of yourself, and try not to get in your head. Just follow through and just finish. Start what you finish, or finish what you start. But just continually just work on yourself and just get better. The biggest thing, just be consistent too. Just like I said, I mean, I've kind of stopped multiple times throughout my bodybuilding journey, just taking time off and stuff. But you just want to stick through and just kind of be consistent, and it will pay off. It always does. Hard work will always pay off no matter what. So,
okay. Do you still kind of, when you look at pictures of yourself, or, you're checking yourself out in the mirror, so to speak, do you still kind of have that mental battle or struggle of like, I'm not good enough? Or are you starting to work through that a little bit?
It's funny. I know, we have, whenever you said about the podcast or the interview, it wasn't until a couple of weeks ago, I had just, again, got out of a relationship and stuff, and had to, get out of that and try to bring myself back up. But what I didn't do this time is stop bodybuilding. That was in December at some point, and I just kind of stuck through it. And it was pretty hard, going through it, but I was like, I gotta be better for myself. No matter what, I just can't stop. I just started, and this is what I want to do. But I need to, finish exactly what I just started. And I was just like, it was a small victory for me. But like looking in the mirror, and it's crazy to say, but like sometimes I had someone take pictures of me in the mirror, and I had to look, and I was like, maybe it's the lighting, maybe it's the sweat, maybe it's the pump. I was like, but I don't look that good. I mean, I don't want to make myself look too good and be that guy on the stage. Well, he looked like that in pictures, but why does he looking like that on stage? I never wanted to be that person. So that's, it kind of plays with me. So I try to like, take the pictures, post them, and move on. Like I don't like to really evaluate what I'm looking like, because it will really get to me. So I just try to stick out of it, take the pictures, and move on. But yeah, it's something I still kind of struggle with. But I'm just trying to put in the work, and just like I said, just take the emotion and what I'm thinking, turn that switch off, and just be grind mode. So.
What do you feel like, this is a dual question, in terms of you mentioned like your I think you said your quads or your legs earlier in terms of maybe like a dominant or a strong point of your physique. So this is a dual question. Um, when you look at yourself in the mirror as a bodybuilder, what do you feel like your strengths are or your strength? And then when you think about just your life and who you are as an individual outside of a bodybuilder, what do you feel like a strength or two of yours is, Scott?
So the strength, like quads would, be my strength, but you know, honestly, like outside of bodybuilding, I haven't been, I can't name a couple of strengths. I just know that, and it's, well, one of the strengths is probably me being a perfectionist, but it's a double-edged sword. So I go all in, and the only thing with that is if I get burnt out or overwhelmed, I kind of self-destruct. So it's just hard to manage that strength. It could be my best tool that I have, but it could also be the worst one to have in the shed. So it's really one of the ones that I have to be okay with. You know what? If you're shooting for the stars, it's okay. I mean, you're in outer space. Just pat yourself on the back there. But I haven't done too much of that. But I'm just, being able to recognize that now. I'm just kind of like, okay, you're doing all the work that needs to be done. That's all that needs to be done. Just don't worry about the little small things. Just kind of, because I would let little small things, like, let's just say I had a bad day, I wouldn't have a good training session, and I wouldn't eat, and then it would just kind of affect my day. Nowadays, it's just kind of like something happens, okay, get around it, troubleshoot, no big deal, and that's just kind of how I'm taking day by day up until USA. So it's worked out pretty good for me. I'm in a good clear headspace, and this is probably going to be, like I said, I'm very excited what I'm going to bring to USA's.
Right. Do you feel like having somebody like Chris Aceto overseeing your prep holds you maybe to a higher standard and a little bit more accountability with Chris as opposed to maybe a lesser name coach? Do you kind of feel that inside of you?
Well, I've worked, like I said, I work with Phil, and he was a great coach. He's a great coach. Um, Chris, same thing. I just noticed their coaching methods are a little bit different. There's a thousand ways to skin a cat, obviously. But for Chris, at least, I mean, he, wants to check in every other day or every day. He's very on top of it. So if I had, like, I just don't want to let him down more than anything. So, and I was just grateful for the opportunity. He just like extended his hand, like, hey, yeah, I'll definitely help you out. So it's just, to me, it's like a dream come true just off of that alone. Just to be able to work with somebody that's taken, top tier athletes and, made them Olympians and stuff and won pro shows. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity right there. So don't want to let him down. And yeah, it just puts me in a realm like, hey, I got to do everything 100%. I mean, whether it be the training, eating, sleeping, I mean, I just keep it, if it's not anything with that, I just, like I said, I cut it out.
Cool, man. Okay, we're gonna wrap it up here, Scott. I want to ask you a fun question. Give me two of your biggest gym pet peeves. What kind of irks you when you're at the gym?
Oh man. Well, I don't knock them for it, but we see a bunch of the. I don't think I did that, but have your shirt off, training, taking pictures and stuff, and I mean they're, I think Trey brought it up. They're like a buck like 50 with the little, wearing their girlfriend shirt and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, just put in. I was actually brought up to where in the gym scene to where if you didn't have his physique, you better be wearing a hoodie, man, because you'd get your ass like, yeah, lit up. But yeah, that, and then just I guess just the excessive picture. People take a lot more pictures and filming themselves versus training. And it's just I go in there, and everybody goes in there for a different purpose. I get that, but it's just I go in there to train my ass off and just leave. I mean, I don't care to be taking gym selfies and doing all that sorts of stuff. So that's just I guess that would be my biggest one. Other than that, racking weights probably. I don't understand. I really don't understand that. I really don't.
You and me both, man. All I can continue to say is the gym culture is completely different. I'll be 36 in July, so I got a few years on you, but the gym culture nowadays is completely different than it was even 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That
Oh yeah.
social media has completely changed the fitness / bodybuilding culture and the gym culture, which for better, for worse, right?
Right, right. Yeah, it's I'm glad it's, expanded the way it is today, especially with social media and stuff, and something I haven't been taking advantage of, but yeah, it's one of those things that's where bodybuilding is now, and you got to just learn to live with it. Really, you're going to be seeing people taking pictures, recording themselves, and that's just how it is nowadays.
For sure. Cool, man. Now, are you just a fan of Iron Rebel, or do you have are you connected with them in some way? What's the deal there?
So I'm not connected with them. I like their clothing. It fits comfy, makes me look like I'm a bodybuilder. But no, it's yeah, it's comfy clothing. I like wearing comfy clothes and stuff. And yeah, I like the brand. Pretty cool.
Okay, cool. I'm right with you, man. They're like you said, their shirts and everything is really comfortable and a very cool brand. So Scott, before I do a quick outro and I let you go today, if you have any final thoughts or any final words that you want to leave with us, I'm going to turn it over to you. Give us your Instagram, any shout outs, go for it. And then I'll do a quick outro and we'll get you out of here.
So I just like to thank you for giving me the time of day to be on here. I'm just, regular bodybuilder, right? But yeah, it's, I thank people that have, stood behind me and believed in me all these years and stuff. And it's kind of come into fruition come July. And I'm really happy to just showing y'all giving me support and stuff and helping me out, whether it be just, the kind words or, and just giving me a listen and just being encouraging, really. Cause I'm really under a rock when I say that. I just, but it's very helpful and it keeps me going day to day. Like my family and friends, again, thank you for, helping me. And, but yeah, that's about it.
Okay. What's your Instagram, Scott?
Instagram is Scott_Bernal 93.
Cool. And if somebody wants to connect with you in terms of coaching, can they just send you a DM on Instagram? Is that the best way?
Just send me a direct message. I always have my phone on me, so yeah, I'll get to it. So yeah, just shoot me a DM and I'll get right back to you.
Excellent. All right, Scott. Thanks, man, for coming out from underneath your rock for a little bit, man, to share your story. I really appreciate it. Okay.
Hey, thank you again. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. All of you who are tuning in to another episode of Behind the Muscle podcast, I just want to say thank you so very much. If you guys have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button in regards to Behind the Muscle podcast on YouTube, and also take this episode with Scott and share it on your Instagram stories. Make sure you tag Scott, tag Behind the Muscle podcast, so that we know that you listened specifically to this episode and found great value in it, in which I know you did. And then finally, I will leave you all with this. Remember, behind the muscle, there's always a story. We'll catch you guys later.